Would you rather only eat beef the rest of your life or only eat chicken the rest of your life? And let's not talk about all the environmental factors that may go into raising these. Okay, so that's off the table.
Well, everything's grass-fed, so it's fine.
Sustainable,
We'll go with
yeah.
sustainable grass-fed,
Exactly.
free-range chicken and grass-fed beef. Would I rather eat chicken or would I rather eat beef the rest of my life?
Choose one, and then you can't have the other ever again.
That's fine because one of my favorite foods is chicken wings. I'm not going to give up chicken wings, and I like tacos too. But the great thing about tacos is there's other options. You said beef or chicken. There's other things like pork. There's turkey, right? So I choose to eat chicken because I can still have chicken wings. Also, big shout out to Outlaw Wings in Broomfield because they just got #1 wings
oh, really?
in the state.
Oh, let's go.
Voted by like Denver Foodie or something like that, and that's like my favorite wing spot. Outstanding wings.
Yeah, they're great wings. They're awesome.
But yeah, 100% chicken because I can have chicken wings. I can have chicken tacos. I can have like different variations of chicken. I can have smoked chicken. I can have pulled chicken. I can have a pulled chicken sandwich. I don't give a fuck about beef. Like, I love it, but I can do without it.
You know, when I first thought of this question, my mind went straight to Dino Nuggets.
Like, you like Dino Nuggets?
I love them. They're fantastic.
Do you air fry them or regular?
Air fry them, for sure.
Yeah.
Air fry them.
Air frying's the way to go.
Yeah. But I also could never give up steak, so I would have to choose beef, 100%. I could eat a piece of steak every day.
Yeah, but like, with chicken, you have so much more of a range of things you can do.
Oh, you got steak, you got chicken fried steak, you got ground beef and all those variations. You got roast, chuck roast.
You know one of my favorite conversations was from Christmas this year?
What's that?
At my stepmom's family's house. A good portion of my stepmom's family thought chicken fried steak was literally fried chicken. Even though the word steak is in
I feel like
name.
it's pretty, yeah.
So I just hope everybody listening to this podcast understands that chicken fried steak is steak battered like chicken and then fried like fried chicken. Now, you go to like a Texas Roadhouse, you can have a chicken fried chicken or a chicken fried steak. A chicken fried chicken is a chicken fried chicken with country gravy. Chicken fried steak fried like chicken. Just to make that clear.
Well, speaking of chickens, remember our debate last week about if you'd rather fight 100 chickens or the mountain lion cub?
Yes.
So basically what I did was I said a mountain lion cub equals 100 chickens. So using that logic, how many chickens do you equal? You follow me?
No.
So like I'm saying, like they're
so
equal,
like one cub equals the same fight as 100 chickens.
Yeah. So like how many chickens are you? Like what's your chicken level and strength? You know what I'm saying? On a chicken scale, how strong are you?
Like 1,000 chickens.
1,000 chickens.
I don't know. How strong is a chicken?
I don't know. We're thinking like a full-grown
I
mountain lion.
I would say like 500 to 1,000 chickens.
Damn.
In that range, because if 100 chickens is a mountain lion cub, that's like a small cat.
Okay, what about a full-grown mountain lion?
Okay, I feel like a full-grown mountain lion's like probably like 1,000 like chickens. So in theory, like we're probably strength equals across to like the mountain lion. I think 1,000 chickens is equal. I think that's a fair answer.
Wow.
I think we're gonna roll with that. I think that's the best option that you have.
Okay, I'm gonna say between like 500 to 750.
That's basically the same thing because I said 500 to 1,000. So we agree. For you guys that don't know, this is Ironworks Underground Podcast, Episode 3. My name's Christian Backus. I'm here with Josh Collins. We're starting out, as always, with random questions of the day. And then we're going to kind of get into a little bit of training, a little bit of sports, whatever. I don't know if Josh has any more questions for the day, but...
Well, we had some questions come in online on my Instagram and put out a questionnaire, seeing if people had questions for us to answer on the podcast. And we'll start off with one. People were asking what our college athletic careers were like. So, Christian, you played Division I football, right?
Yep.
So why don't you run through kind of what your experience was, maybe from the recruiting process all the way through to, however it went down.
Yeah. Well, first off, I do want to give Braden Keith a big shout out to his commitment to Colorado University of Colorado Buffaloes, SCO Buffs. He's a legacy guy. Do you have anything on that?
Yeah, Brayden, he just committed, got a preferred walk-on position at CU. Just going to climb the ranks. He's a great cornerback. Really has all the fundamentals down position-wise, and we're currently coming back from a collarbone injury, and we're just working on putting on weight and getting everything back up to speed, and I think he has a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I think, from what I've seen, like from play and like in here, the kid has a crazy drive, so I think he's going to do pretty damn well up the next level. But yeah, back to the question. So Division I football at Northern Colorado, was recruited there in 2011, 2012 range. Played there in 2013 and 14. From there, I actually left and transferred up to Wyoming. Was gonna continue playing football. Concussions kind of shut that down. But yeah, back to UNC. So I mean, 2011, 2012. You kind of look at like junior, senior year of high school. Getting recruited, starting the recruiting process. Obviously, it started way before that. Probably freshman, sophomore year. Kind of diving into a list of schools that I wanted to go play for, and obviously like what I wanted to study. Originally, I was looking at doing sports journalism, broadcasting, all that, and kind of pursued that. That was kind of a big factor in what I was looking at, like what schools offered from there. UNC had a pretty good journalism program. CU had one. I mean, pretty much everywhere you look, they have a communications program. It's like almost a blanket option across most universities. And through that process, I guess kind of looking at junior year, I was talking to some bigger schools, CU being one of them. Wyoming with their old coaching staff, not the ones they have now. Briefly was talking to Cal Berkeley, a few bigger schools. But like that was really kind of it, like talking. Went to a lot of junior days, around the country, mainly Midwest and then out to the West Coast. And then senior year rolls around, still talking to some of those schools, ended up breaking my hand the first game of the season, like the first drive. So I ended up like pulling me out of games. That whole game, the second and third game of the season, ended up coming back week 4, and kind of just grinding it out from there. Senior year kind of took it, I had an offer from New Mexico, UNC, North Dakota State, and a few different schools. A lot of like 1AA, not a lot of FBS schools, so the bigger schools. And then ultimately ended up going to UNC. I think looking back on it, I wouldn't say I have any regrets about it. But in a way, I do kind of regret not going to North Dakota State, as they've won like 9 national championships now. I think a lot of the influence factors, and I tell athletes this all the time, like you need to make the best decision for yourself. I felt like looking back on it, I had a lot of outside like influence in terms of like who was talking to me, coaches at Grandview, like kind of like pushed me to go one way or the other. Friends, I mean, family was kind of involved, but they were very supportive of like whatever I decided. I think, in my mind, I kind of wanted to stay closer to home, which is fine. Like a lot of people want to do that. I don't know, going back now, I don't know if I would have made that same decision. I think I probably would have gone to like North Dakota State or like one of those schools, but North Dakota State's in Fargo, and Fargo's fucking cold.
Yeah, totally. It's fucking freezing up there. But that must have been like a super stressful process. Like I see our athletes going through it. We have every year we have someone's looking to go somewhere, going through that recruiting process. So how stressful was it for you? As you're a senior, you're out that first couple weeks. Were you kind of stressing out about like where you're gonna go, like who was talking to you, who wasn't?
I think I was more caught up in like how cool it was to be getting recruited by some bigger schools. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was like stressful at the start. I think it was like exciting to build like a basis of like where I wanted to go. Had a lot of big aspirations of schools I wanted to go to and talk to, trying to get in contact with a lot of coaches. I think where the stress really started to build was the like, how do I put this? Like, I guess the stress, the most stressful parts of the recruiting process for me, calling coaches, emailing coaches, that is a huge stress, because like you don't know what these coaches are going to ask you. it's hard to kind of like, for some athletes, myself, it was hard to kind of build the courage up to call a coach and like talk to them, because like it's like you don't know these people, you're just kind of cold calling them. And like for the people that don't know me and like outside of the gym, I'm kind of a quiet, shy person. I keep to myself. I like to observe things, so you can't really see me going out of my way to like go talk to somebody or like.
When you're a kid, like
that
might be your first
like
time
16,
like
17,
someone.
18,
Exactly. Learning how to communicate like
that. And so like learning how to communicate, it's like awkward calling coaches like, hey coach, like my name's Christian Backus, I'm a tight end at Grandview High School, just wanting to call, and then it's like you kind of start stumbling over words. I experienced that a few times. But as you do it more, you get better at it. But that was a huge stress for me, was the calling coaches. And my dad was a huge help, my parents were a huge help, stepdad, dad, mom, everybody was a huge help in terms of like contact info. Like my stepdad played at Weber State. My dad was diving down the path of like building a contact list for me to like reach out to, of like all the schools I wanted to talk to. And so I think that's a big stress for a lot of athletes these days. In general, like building a contact list of coaches to hit up, and then like going about like how to hit those coaches up. Like, do you email, do you call, do you hit them up over Twitter? And like we're in a whole different world than we were 10 years ago. With social media. I mean, every freaking person is out there. Oh, just got a walk-on offer. Oh, just got a scholarship offer from so-and-so. Oh, I'm decommitting. Oh, I'm committing. And now we're dealing with the transfer portal. So it's like even more crazy in terms of like recruiting, because college coaches could be looking at like a high school kid, but they also could be looking at the transfer portal and trying to get kids in from there.
They have a lot of options now.
There's a boatload of options for coaches to choose from. So, but yeah, looking back on it, I think like it was stressful, but it wasn't like negative stress all the time. There was a lot of like positive stress, like, oh, this is cool, this person's talking to me, this coach is telling me I gotta talk to this coach, I gotta call this coach. And my dad's in my ear the whole time. He's like, hey, did you call this guy? Hey, did you call this guy? And I'm like, yes. And then sometimes I was like, I didn't fucking do it. At that day, like eventually I got around to it. But, emailing coaches was tough. Just because like, you're sending these emails and not hearing back from them sucked.
Totally.
Not getting phone calls back always sucked. Especially if like a coach reached out to you at one point and then they just ghost you. Like that sucked. I know that happened a few times. I mean, obviously there were some coaching changes that went on. Like coaches would leave a school and go somewhere else. So like, yeah, you're gonna get ghosted by a coach that maybe go somewhere else, or maybe they'll talk to you at a different school. But I think like the recruiting process and why it's stressful is it's an ever evolving situation from when you enter high school to when you commit to go play at the next level. Because a school could be talking to you like early on in your high school career, and then they ghost you, and then a new school comes in, they could ghost you, or like that original school that ghosted you could come back. Things are always changing. Coaching is always changing. Like there's a coaching carousel constantly going on at the next level, because coaches, like say you're talking to a D2, that coach probably wants to go coach Division I, or that coach wants to be a head coach somewhere. So like there's a good chance like the coach that recruits you is going to leave during your 4 to 5 years that you're in college. So like you got to be able to like build relationships with other coaches on the staff, other athletes, like. And beyond just the sport, you got to be able to like build a relationship with the school and where you're going, because it'd be really shitty to go to a place, not play football or not play your sport after 1 to 2 years, and then be stuck there and hate the school, hate the town, maybe hate the culture of the school, the people that are there.
You just got to think about your future, which is super hard sometimes, but you got to realize, you're going here to get an education, to possibly start a career and network. So just make sure it's somewhere you want to be, whether that be closer to family, different preferences with school in the area, but just make sure you think about all those things at least.
Yeah, for sure. I mean the biggest thing like that I would tell athletes now would be to like go somewhere that you can see yourself without your sport, and on top of that, like go somewhere that is going to get you an education, because you got to think like beyond the next 4 years, or the next 5 years. Like you got to have you don't have to have an education. You can go do a trade. I mean, whatever you want to do, or you can change careers, but like your goal is to like come out of college like having the knowledge to go get a career in like finance or get a career in like the fitness world or go be a football coach, right? And you know what comes from it is a lot of other experiences too. Like you get to go be on your own. You get to kind of learn things. Like obviously, like your football becomes your football coach or your sport coaches become like your second family, and you start building relationships with the friends from that family. And like you know, I can't say I talked to a lot of people from college still. I can't really say I talked to a lot of people from high school still. But there's other people that I know that have like still have friendships from the football team at UNC or wherever, and like I know you still have a lot of friendships from playing rugby at CSU. Yeah, I don't know if you want
two coaches here from CSU's rugby, so
yeah,
yeah,
three,
yeah, including myself. Yeah.
three, yeah. So we got three coaches here from CSU rugby. So like obviously there's a deep relationship factor in that aspect of things, and but yeah, I mean I really don't even like talk to the people that I went to college with or even like went to high school with. Like pretty like exiled myself from those groups, and it wasn't intentional, it just kind of happened. You know, I built relationships beyond that, like through the gym and through fitness and like through training and also like sports. Like a lot of the people I'm friends with I played against at some point.
It's cool to see like how many communities are popping up from gyms. Like, I mean, even just on Instagram and stuff, like there's whole populations of people that just like go to the gym together and friends from the gym. I think it's super cool.
Yeah.
And never like that wasn't really a thing. Like you had your gym friends, but it wasn't as like far spreading, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. You look at it like now, like how we have like friends from like different states just because like we linked up over Instagram at some point and then met in person at some point, or like went to a seminar of something and like met these people. And you know there's like a whole community of people in Colorado that have like gotten together to like build like I wouldn't say like it's a community, but like we don't really like ever hang out. It's just like this like Instagram like world, like we always are talking and shit.
I feel like that's just like how it is now though with like social media. Like the guy who cuts my hair, he's from Florida. My tattoo artist is from Indiana, right? Like so all these people I just met online, and then now we like communicate and hang out and like serve each other and like share our talents and stuff. So I think it's just super cool that we're able to do that and communicate at such a high level now.
Yeah, that's sick. So you kind of went a different route with your college sports.
Yes.
I wouldn't like you played a collegiate sport, but it wasn't like it was a club sport, so it wasn't like school. It wasn't school funded. I guess you can dig into this too. Like, why would you go club versus like playing because I don't know how many like rugby schools have a rugby like varsity program, like NCAA program.
Totally.
So I don't know if you want to dive down that path, like the difference between like a club sport like versus like my experience like with a full varsity sport. I mean, like, you look at like the way I had it, like the world of like Division I football. Like we literally were like say the off season or like spring season or like even in season, it's like 6 a.m. to like 9 p.m. daily.
Oh yeah, it's so different. I like kind of went through the recruiting process a little bit, at least like my junior year and a little bit of my senior year with football. Went to like some junior days and did a bunch of camps. But really I wasn't interested in football. Once I had found rugby, I just knew I wanted to play rugby. So I didn't really know how the recruiting process of rugby worked back then, and it's still even now. It's a club sport most places. You're not going to get scholarship money most places, and it's really just you pay to play, right? So with rugby, it's just kind of you play for the love of the sport. So I went to Utah State my first year, and that was actually a player coach team, so that was a super interesting experience where there's a guy playing alongside me who was also telling us what to do. And I actually developed into a position where I was telling people what to do. So at that point, I knew like, yeah, I should probably find something that like is going to help me develop a little bit more. So then I transferred to CSU up in Fort Collins, and that team was excellent. I think at our highest, we were 7th in the nation in D1 rugby. And from there, it was an actual program, right? So I still paid to play, but then we had multiple coaches. We had different levels of teams. We had access to a few more facilities than we did at Utah State, so that was nice. But it's nothing like the Division I football experience or anything like that. It is gritty. We get kicked off of fields for like ultimate frisbee, right? Like we couldn't have a tournament there because the ultimate frisbee team was having something. So just a bunch of bullshit like that we dealt with, and that's just like rugby across the board. Like anyone who's played rugby knows that like you usually get the shit end of the stick and you just kind of deal with it and just play rugby because you love rugby.
Did you guys ever like experience like a situation where it's like, oh, we're supposed to have practice like today, tomorrow, and next day, but we're kicked off the field because
Oh yeah, if it snowed at all, we couldn't practice because they didn't want us to ruin the fields, or if it rained too much. So then we'd have to go find a park and go practice there.
that's so wild.
Yeah,
It's
so
like,
we'd
you
like
know,
have to ride
it's
share and
like
stuff.
football rolls out. Like we get like at UNC, like we didn't have an indoor, so we go do like walkthroughs like in the rec center, like gym. Like if you haven't been to UNC, we have like the rec center there has like 8 basketball courts. So it ends up being a pretty big space to where you can do like a full walkthrough, like a full indoor,
Yeah.
like and not necessarily a practice, but like a walkthrough. Like if it's too cold out or like raining too much, like you know, or lightning, you can go inside. Like, but then you have schools like Wyoming. Like the very brief period I was there, they have an indoor, and
Yeah.
a lot of college, you know,
We actually had an indoor. We got
Yeah.
access to it, but we can only access it at like 11 o'clock at night.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so those practices were terrible. Like
Yeah.
get in there 9 or so. So it was bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy though the difference in experience that you get from like a club sport to like a college like NCAA Division I, Division II sport. You know, and that experience ranges from school to school too. I mean, you can't base it off of like this is how UNC was, this is how CSU was with rugby.
Yeah.
You know, the people that like, I mean, we can talk to guys that you know we know that are playing, you know, Division I to Division III lacrosse, like different sport, different school, different location. They probably have a wildly different experience than they do that we had, you know, from UNC to CSU, or you know, friends that I had that went and played football like K-State or like, you know, Mesa or like wherever. The experience that you're going to get everywhere is going to be wildly different. I mean, you may get some similarities, but you're going to get a complete different experience no matter where you're at, because the people are different, the culture is different, the vibe of the town could be different.
Yeah.
You know, so I think, you know, one of my best advices would be to any college bound athlete, no matter the sport, no matter what you're doing, go experience like the universities firsthand. Go see what it's like. Go talk to people at those schools. Go visit. Go to a junior day. Go do an unofficial visit. Whatever you got to do. Like if you're interested in that school, research it and go be there, because you're not going to get the full experience from a YouTube video or online or what you hear. Like you got to go experience it for yourself, because if you can't see yourself there in person, then there's no business for you even going there.
And look up the coach, look at their credentials, look where they've been. You know,
Yeah.
Figure out who you're going to be working with, because that's, you know, you have to
Yeah.
deal with them pretty much all year.
Yeah,
So.
and like even look at the rosters too. Like you could be looking at a school that like may not even recruit you. Like from a football standpoint, like say a school just brought in like 4 tight ends this year and they have 6 in the roster. They're probably not looking at it, you know, to bring one on next year. If that makes sense. So go look at like what you're doing, so you're not wasting your time.
What resources are there for guys looking for recruiting help, stuff like that?
Yeah. So this is a good one. I might get my dad to jump on this with us at some point, in terms of recruiting stuff. But so my dad did a lot with me recruiting wise, and he, you know, really dove down the path for a long time with the recruiting world and like following it and trying to build something with it. But yeah, so I mean, you can go out there. I mean, the big thing for me is, and this is from experience. This is from looking at what some coaches say out there, and this is from like seeing what people say, is to stay away from like the bullshit scouting services, like is it
Like, give me $600, I'll email 50
yeah, like
coaches for
okay,
you.
like NCSA is not going to do shit for you. There's recruiting services out there like that. They're like, oh, you're going to pay $600 a month, $1,000 a month, and we're going to go email all these schools for you. And in the grand scheme of things, they're not doing that, and they're just going to ghost you, or they're going to do whatever. That's just horror stories I've heard. I don't have firsthand experience with that. The best thing you can do for yourself is to go out there, build a database for yourself. Go start a Google spreadsheet or an Excel spreadsheet if people still use Excel, and like name your school, like, oh, University of Colorado, University of Wyoming, Northern Colorado, like CSU Pueblo. And I'm just thinking like regional schools here in Colorado. You can do whatever you want, right? And find their contact info for those schools, right? Find the programs they offer for like, you know, what you want to study. But like the best resources are going to be yourself diving down the path of like finding contact info and reaching out to the schools, and like reaching out to the coaches, reaching out to the admissions office, finding out what you need to do to get there. Now, obviously, there's probably some services out there that are going to help you kind of develop these lists. I don't know them offhand. And like maybe develop or like help you reach out to these people or help you reach out to these schools. But like I said, like coaches want to hear from you as an athlete. They don't want to hear from your parents. They don't want to hear from some random fucking scout online being like, oh, I just had this kid email me. You know, like I remember going out and seeing like Nick Saban at one point saying like, we literally will delete an email if it comes from, they look at it as spam, like if it comes from like a service, because like to them that is spam. They want to hear from you as the athlete or your coach at your school or somebody that has like some relevance in your life, like one of like, you know, a coach here at Ironworks or like your coaches at school, or like I know there's a lot of 7-on-7 teams out there for football, or like your club coach, you know what I mean? They want to hear from people that work with you on day in and day out. But yeah, like build a spreadsheet, get some contacts together. I mean, my suggestion for athletes would be go find, you know, 5 to 10 schools from like D1, the mid-major D1, so like in football world, your FBS to your FCS, or like your D1 1A to 1AA, your D2s, your D3s, your NAIAs, and build a database and like maybe build tabs on that list. And as you kind of go through that stuff, you want to like, you know, here's the offensive coach, here's the defensive coach, here's my position coach. And this could get, you know, can be changed obviously for different sports, but like here's the recruiting coordinator. This is the head coach. Here's their email. Here's their phone number. Then you start building out like an email list. Okay, this is what my email is going to be like. This is the shell of my email. This is what I want it to look like. This is how I'm going to like present myself. This is what I'm looking for at this school. This is what I'm studying at the school. And then you're going to send it, and then you're going to follow up with a phone call, right?
Bro, you should be like a consultant or something. You just outlined everything. You know what I'm saying? So like it's that easy. Like, you just have to.
It's simpler than people need to make it,
exactly.
or that try to make it, right? And we could do a whole episode on like developing. This is why I would like to get my dad on here, because he has a lot of info. But we could spend a whole hour talking about. Okay, so if you're gonna email this coach, this is what you need to say. This is how you're gonna say it. This is how you're gonna present yourself. This is what you need to have in your email.
Well, these are just good life skills to have.
Yeah, I mean,
you could prepare for something of this nature. Yeah. It's a normal thing. You're gonna have to send an important email and talk to someone important at some point.
Yeah, and you know, you could be sending a resume out. This is like exactly. Essentially you're sending out your athlete resume.
Yeah.
Right. One thing that my dad had me do back in the day, and obviously there's more resources now. We built like a website for myself. So it's like christianbacchusathlete.whatever.com.
Wow, yeah.
Right? And that website, and I had some coaches say, this is really cool. Like, this is awesome, because on that website I had, you know, my schedule for football. I had camps I was going to be attending, because obviously when you look at sports, like other coaches like invite other schools to come to their camps and hang out. Especially in the football world, they you know, a UNC football coach could go up at CU, or CSU could come to CU, or whatever it may be. And so that helps with recruiting, because then, you know, a coach can go on your website. It's like, oh, here's some highlight videos. Here's his 40 times. Here's this. Here's that. There's this. There's the calendar for this coming year. This is where you're going to be for all your camps, like whatever it may be. So that's like a good option. I mean, there's obviously, you know, things out there and like maybe websites out there that help you do this. I don't know. I haven't been in this world for a while, but that's what we did. And that's, and you know, I had like the UNC football coaches, the offensive coordinator there. He literally had my entire website printed out on a piece of paper and brought it to when he visited my school.
That's awesome.
And he was like, you know, ranting and raving how nice it was to have all the information like front and center. So you got to like sell yourself. You got to treat yourself as a business, as a resource for that team, and present yourself and advertise yourself and market yourself to these coaches. And, you know, when I say marketing or advertising, it's you sending emails, it's you posting stuff on Twitter, posting updates, posting on Instagram. I don't know if coaches use Facebook anymore, but back in the day, I used to like message back and forth with coaches on Facebook and Twitter.
Twitter's big now.
Twitter's huge now.
Yeah.
Back in our day, like, I feel like we're saying that like we're old, but like 10 years ago, like 12 years ago, Facebook coaches were like, you could friend request a coach on Facebook. I'm still friends with some coaches on Facebook, and like you could, you know, message them and they'll message you. There was back then, I don't know if there is now, there was no like rules from the NCAA if you can.
I don't know, there might be rules, so don't take our
Yeah, I mean, you know, back then there was no rules, so you could literally hit up a coach over Facebook and the NCAA could give two shits.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we can maybe dive more into this like later
bring it
in
down
another
or something.
episode, and we'll really break down like how it all kind of plays out and like how you should go about your recruiting. And I mean, I'm no expert, but I do feel like I could give some advice that may help some people out there or athletes out there. So
Maybe to flip this conversation on the head, like, you know, we talk about how you got into college and all that. What about that post-athlete life? Because that's so important. That's where
post-athlete, like after you're done playing.
Yeah, after done playing for whatever
shit.
reason. That's like what 98% of people are gonna end up at. That's like the
probably
reality.
more, like 99.5%.
Exactly, like
Like you have 0.05%. I had a coach in college. His name was John Boyer. He was our offensive coordinator. He goes, athletes die twice. And all of us were like sitting there like, what the fuck do you mean? Yeah. And he's like, so athletes die twice. First, your life as an athlete ends because then you have to go out and figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Yeah. Right? So you die twice because your athlete life and you as an athlete is vastly different than what you're going to be doing as an adult post-athlete life. Yeah. For me, I struggled immensely with this because football ended so abruptly because of concussions. Mm-hmm. I didn't really see an end to it at that time. I didn't really I did walk away from one of my terms. I got recommended like, hey, you probably should stop playing football because your head's pretty fucked up. Mm-hmm. But post-athlete life, you know, I struggled for a bit. Like, I didn't want to be in the weight room. I wanted nothing to do with like athletics. I was just kind of done with it at the time. I had a really hard time. It probably took me like 6 months to a year to really kind of dive back into it. And even then it was a struggle. But obviously this world, like going into like strength and conditioning, sports performance, that helped me kind of still be around it in a way. Totally, yeah. You know, I coached football at Grandview for a couple years, helped out with my brother's football team a couple times, nothing really crazy, but it allowed me to be around the sports still and really kind of, I guess, come to terms with the fact that I'm still, like, I'm not an athlete in that aspect anymore. I can still be an athlete now. Like, I still train pretty hard. And so I think, you know, post-athlete life, it comes down to finding something that you enjoy doing, like, are good at. And, you know, there's, like, a lot of options for, like, former, football players or, like, you know, like, any athlete to go still be an athlete. Go do something else. Go find something else to do. Like, you know, there's club leagues. There's, like, rec leagues. You can go find another sport that may be, like an Olympic sport that you can take to the Olympics. I mean, there's so many different Olympic sports now. Like, there's a lot of options for athletes. And, you know, for myself, I think my biggest struggle is, like, not knowing what to do with my day because, like, and I'm sure a lot of athletes struggle with this. As an athlete, your day is so structured and you're so locked into, like, this schedule. Like, in college, it was, like, wake up 6 a.m., lift, breakfast, class, lunch, afternoon meetings, practice, study hall, bed. Yeah. Like, it's so structured. And so losing that, I think people really struggle with. I know I did, not having that structure.
It's like figuring out where to invest your time now. Since you can't invest in the athletics anymore in the same way you were.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, for myself, what I did, like, right after I stopped playing football, when I finally got back into the weight room, I was spending like 3 hours in the gym a day just lifting because I didn't know what to do. Like, I was bored at home. I would walk my dog. I would do stuff with my dog. But, like, okay, there's still 6 hours left in the day. What do I do? Yeah. You know what? And I'd find myself at the gym. I'd ended up playing intramural basketball. That was some way to fill my time.
Well, it's interesting how people train once they're done being an athlete. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people don't train the same way. They start training completely different.
I mean, I definitely do. I still struggle with, like, the whole, like, I'm lazy and I don't want to do box jumps. I don't want to do sprints. I don't want to do stuff like that. I just want to lift. Like,
yeah, totally.
I don't really
That's
want
okay.
to.
That's still okay to just lift.
You know, and, like, sometimes I'll see Strong by Science on Instagram. It's like, oh, why would you stop jumping and training like an athlete if you're still going to plan on doing this stuff? I'm like, well,
that shit's hard.
Bro, I don't want to do that shit. Like, I don't want to. Yeah. And so...
That's a whole nother conversation.
It
just
really
being in the
is.
gym every day, like how hard it is to train as a coach.
And that's why, like you guys, like, people ask me all the time. It's like, why don't you train at your own gym? It's like, because I'm here all day. I want to go, like, separate myself into an aspect.
It is tough.
But, you know, post athlete life, and it's really not post athlete life. You can still be an athlete, but your focus has changed a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, whether you're studying, you're trying to go to school, you're trying to do this, like,
you almost have to re-identify
as a person,
as as a non-athlete.
Yeah, like your ability to, like you're not, you can't identify yourself as an athlete anymore, but, like, if you have a competitive nature, go be competitive in something else. Like you can go be competitive in sales in a sales job and like want to be a winner there. Like you don't have to lose the idea of like going and winning something every day.
Exactly.
There's still ways to compete.
And you can still be locked in like an athlete with your training and your nutrition.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason you can't. Like you can still train hard and eat well. And it's not like you have to have a reason to do so.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could still like go out and like compete in like intramural sports or like club sports or what rec leagues and shit. I mean, like there's semi-pro football, there's pickup lacrosse, there's basketball leagues, there's hockey, there's rugby leagues. You could fucking go be a good marathon runner. I mean, like there's so many things you can go out and do post athlete life that like maybe it's not like you're gonna go play in a fucking bowl game or like in a national championship, but
you're still gonna meet people and have those experiences.
You could get a medal.
All that shit. Yeah,
like I went and ran a Spartan race a couple years ago. That was pretty sick. Like I got a medal for after that. Like that was cool. I felt like I won something because I just completed like a 10-mile fucking obstacle course.
See, exactly. You still get the same like satisfaction and all that hard work still leads up to something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of ways outside of post-athlete life. I mean, like, what do you think? What have you, like, experienced as far as, like, that?
Well, I feel like I'm still, like, coming out of it almost because pretty much the last 4 years of my rugby career, I was just, like, getting a concussion, coming back, getting a concussion, getting back. Just every time I just kept getting pushed away from the game, I just kept coming back and getting a concussion. So then I stopped, and then I tried jiu-jitsu, and then now same boat, got a concussion. So like, I'm still trying to figure out like what the hell I'm doing as an athlete. But for me, training has been like the key to like sanity. Where like, if I can't go like roll and do jiu-jitsu in the morning, I'm gonna go like ride my bike. I just bought like a stationary bike stand, so I'm gonna like put my bike up and just fucking do sprints on that in the morning. I just gotta figure out some way to compete with yourself and like basically burn off that energy, because as humans, I feel like we need to like move and be active and compete at something for us to like stay sane. At least from my experience.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a reason people feel good from exercising.
Yeah, that's true. It's like the endorphins you get. Yeah. Like people love it. I mean, that's why Colorado's great, because you can do so much. I mean, like one thing I've really started enjoying post athlete life, because I grew up doing it. I didn't get to do a lot of it while I was playing sports as much, just because like weekends got taken up, summers got taken up. Like in the summers, I love water sports. I like wakeboarding, wake surfing, camping, all that shit. Stuff I didn't get to do.
Like hiking.
Like I still get to be active. And in the winter, dude, snowboarding, skiing. Like there's things you can do. And
you're not worried about like burning extra energy or like being hurt for something. Like you're like, fuck, I have practice later. I don't want to go hike, So.
Well, and like the cool thing is like you can still like, it's like, oh, like in my mind, like, oh, I got to like kind of start getting in shape to go hiking, because it's a whole different thing. It's like, hey, I got to make sure my body's solid to like go out and ski and snowboard and like control myself on the slopes. Because you do see people go out there that are like flimsy, soft people, and they fuck themselves up on the mountain or on the water, like, which is fine. Like you can go out there and do that, but like you're not going to be as like competitive or aggressive on the mountain. Aggressive is the worst way to say it, like on the mountain, but like I think like from experience you feel more comfortable being a little bit more like nosy in terms of like wanting to go a little bit harder down a mountain snowboarding, or like on a hike you can choose that like more aggressive like hike.
I think what it comes down to is just like having some type of goal, especially with a physical goal, and just being able to like go after it and chase it. Because I think for whatever reason, as humans, we like the idea of like knocking down goals and achieving things. Like our brain likes that. Yeah. So I think once
it's a little bit of a high.
Yeah, and with sports, it's there for you, and like it's so available as a kid and growing up for most people. Hopefully, it is for more. But then as you get older, it's just like harder for you to like make that decision. You to go out and do something different, right? Because it's not going to look the same as it did, and it's not going to be the same group. So I don't know. I think it's about figuring out whatever goal you need to set for yourself and just attacking that and making the process and working towards that. Yeah. Whether that's like going faster down a mountain or even just like changing your body. It's cool to be able to change your body. Like, I want my arms to get bigger. Cool, let's do more arms.
Yeah, I mean you can always do more arms. Like
always do more arms.
No, I think it also helps like surround yourself with people with like-minded
totally
like visions 100%. And like maybe goals like I don't know if I could be around people that are fucking lazy. and like don't want to do shit. Like it's fine like laying around. I love laying around. Like don't get me wrong. Like I laid in bed for an extra 2 hours this morning before I made my way to the gym to lift. But like, you know, like have like surround yourself with people who have goals, whether it be like financial goals, strength goals, life goals, like my friend Shane, like all you guys here, my friend Jake, my girlfriend, like everybody that I like, and like my whole family too. Like I think all of us like could take it the same way. We all have surrounded ourselves with people that are highly competitive, highly outgoing people that want to go win shit in different aspects of life, different aspects of things.
When you like, everyone always says like you are like who you surround yourself with, and it's so true that I've seen lately. It's just like if you surround yourself with good people, you're gonna have more good energy, and that just breeds more positivity in your life. And whether that, you know, it's gonna look different for everybody, but I think that's the most important when you're building, whether it's a brand, building a team, is you need to have people that have the same mindset and the same goals, right?
Yeah, I think it's hard to have like be around people that don't have the same goals. Not that they're gonna drag you down, but they may guide you off path a little bit.
Even like working with people with different mindsets. If it's like you can have a different framework you use to like do something, right? Like say we train differently, for example. But if you can't like have the same goal of communicating well and wanting to like improve the brand and help athletes, then you're not going to be able to work together.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, you can even see it with our athletes.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain athletes that come through the door and, like, their goal may not be to go play at the next level. They may be lazy, and lazy's not the right word. They may not have, like, the same end goal as all the other.
Drive, yeah.
They have a different drive. Like, they have a different end goal to what they're trying to do. Maybe they're just trying to be good in college or in high school, and they don't plan to go to the next level. So they don't have that same, like, fuck, I need to work my ass off today because this coach is coming at the end of the week, or, like, whatever it may be. Right, you know,
so
but then you
communicate different, and
but then you have these athletes that come in and they're like, all right, I need to like put my head down and go because CU is going to be at the school on Friday, and they may, you know what I mean, like they may be offering me, like I don't fucking know, and then I got to prepare to go play Pac-12 football, like whatever it may be. But yeah, so cool.
If you guys have any other questions that you want us to answer on this podcast, go ahead and send them in on Instagram or the phone line we apparently have.
Yeah, shoot us a text, 720-505-4531. I hope that's the right phone number. Anyhow, yeah, I mean, we'll dive more into the recruiting process at a later episode. Yeah, I mean, if you guys have questions, like Josh said, hit us up. Let us know what you have questions on. And then for you guys that are listening, this is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, as well as some other random ones that like nobody really uses, but they're there, like Google Podcast, Anchor, and there's like some other ones. But yeah, we'll have this on YouTube. Also, go hit us with a subscribe on YouTube, since we do post a lot of content on there. And then last but not least, we have launched our Ironworks online training programs. Our first one is called Iron Athlete. So for you guys that are not training here in the gym with us, maybe listening from somewhere else, and this doesn't have to necessarily be like you're an athlete. Like if you want to train like an athlete, this could be for you as well. With this Iron Athlete program, you know, it's 5-6 days a week. You get, you know, 2 dynamic days, 2 max strength days, a couple speed conditioning days, some movement days, and it's only $14 a month. You get like 7-day free trial. And this can be accessed from anywhere. You get access to Josh, you get access to me, and you know, we post videos on YouTube for this. And yeah, you want to dive into that any more on that?
I mean, it's just going to give you all the tools you need to be successful as an athlete with whatever form that looks like, right? So we try to cover all bases of your programming. And there's videos on there so you can see the exercises. It allows you to track your sets, reps, and weights, so it shows you your total volume and your load over the course of the program. So it has a lot of good tools and stuff that you can use to kind of track everything. And like you said, it's only $15, right? So super cheap and affordable. So I would definitely recommend it.
So if you want to find that, it'll be up on our website like ASAP. I've been kind of slow at getting it up on the website, but hit our Ironworks _online on Instagram. The link is on there to get to that program. We'll be launching a little bit less of a intense version, like a 3-day-a-week version, called we're gonna call it Forever Athlete. Or something along the lines of that, to where it's like somewhat of the same stuff, but it's like good for people that aren't like necessarily wanting to dive into a 6-day-a-week intense program, something a little bit more laid back. But yeah, you can find that Ironworks _ online on Instagram. And then obviously our regular Instagram is Ironworks _ performance. And last but not least, we're launching Black Cherry pre-workout pre-order for Ironwolf. It's up on our website, wolfsubs.com.
Joko10 at checkout, 10% off.
Nice little plug as always. But yeah, we just dropped that. It's not available yet. It'll be available coming soon. But the pre-order is up there now. And then we're almost out of our blood orange flavor. So if you're trying to get some new pre-workout, we got the blood orange for a little bit longer. We'll be restocking that, so it's not going away forever. But it is running low right now. And then we do have creatine in stores and online, wolfsubs.com. Again,
we should do a YouTube giveaway for like the amount of views we get on this.
Yeah.
If we get like,
yeah, you know what? Actually, when we post this on YouTube, we'll give away an Ironworks shirt, a bottle of creatine or pre-workout. You get to choose black cherry or blood orange if you want. And then so to enter this giveaway, you have to comment on our YouTube channel a question for next week's podcast, and like and subscribe on YouTube as well. So if you're already subscribed, obviously you're good, but like the page, the YouTube video, and leave a comment with a question. If you don't leave a comment, you don't get entered. We'll do a little random giveaway, and we'll post it on. We'll do the giveaway on next podcast.
Yeah, you better do it.
Ethan Dillinger, do it. We know you want it. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you guys. You'll hear from us next week.
Merry Christmas.